Thank you for joining us today. Today we bring you Evan. He's the DAC chair of the Franchise and Income Tax Appeals Agency. Evan started his state career in 2009 with the California Correctional Health Care Services, California State Prison, San Quentin as an office technician, and during the federal receivership of the state's prison healthcare system. He later worked as an SSA, an AGPA at CalVet, which is the California Department of Veterans Affairs, and the Administration of Veterans Nursing and Residential Care Facilities of the Board of Equalization. Um, he has also been a member of his agency's DAC since 2020, where he was the DAC Vice Chair in 2024 and has been its chair since 2025. With that, I'll go ahead and hand the mic over to you, Evan. Thank you again for being here. Floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Alex, for that kind introduction. And hello, everyone. My name's Evan. I just want to quickly share my experience with disability throughout my life. So I was born with a condition called degenerative disc disease, which means that my discs are about 30 years older than I am. I'm a 39-year-old Caucasian male wearing a white shirt. And I also have spinal stenosis, which means that my spinal canal is narrower than everyone else's. So I have just some neurological conditions that have come out of that. I injured myself my second year of college, which caused me to fail out completely. I had to then apply to get back in, and I finished college, luckily. I was healthy for about 5 years after that, and then I had to have two major surgeries, which leaves me with severe chronic pain on a regular basis. The reason I bring this up is because the importance of invisible disabilities is often something that is overlooked. Only 1 in 4 people with disabilities actually work in the United States. It's a pretty low percentage compared to people who do not have disabilities. It's about 69% labor participation uh, by comparison. So anyways, I just wanted to bring a quick awareness to invisible disabilities because people who may present to be completely neuronormal, whatever the word is, may actually have a lot more going on underneath the surface. So just always be aware of that whenever you're interacting with someone. And that's one reason why I've been a champion for the reasonable accommodation process. I was really amazed by all the participation today and all the questions and concerns raised by people who have reasonable accommodations. That's definitely one of the things that has helped me the most in my career. My reasonable accommodation request was to get a special chair that has a thing called a caudal cutout, which allows for relief of pressure on the spinal column. So it's something that I just always want to make aware to people who may be suffering from physical disabilities is that you can request assistive devices through your doctor. So I always encourage people to do that. Um, One of my main purposes as the DAC chair is to educate people on the availability of these services. And we also circulate newsletters which highlight people who have been champions for disability rights throughout history. So I always like to encourage people for that. We send weekly emails during NDEAM, which is kind of like our highlight for the year. And recently we had a panel discussion with Joe Xavier from the Department of Rehabilitation and Candace Welch and Jessica Grove. And we talked about disability in the workforce. So I would encourage all DACs to try and have speakers. You can even request Joe Xavier personally. He's happy to hold discussions at your agencies. Um, and then finally, I just want to close by encouraging all DACs to focus on California Government Code 19795B1, which is the law that establishes DACs and establishes the purposes of DACs. So that code, it establishes that every agency shall have a group of employees with disabilities or who are interested in advancing disability rights to directly advise their head of agency and also to work on the plan to correct any underrepresentation in their workforce. So just remember that as you administer your DACs, that's the original purpose in statute, and that's what we're set out to do. So we might get distracted sometimes by some of the other advocacy that we do, but remember that our goal in law is to advise our head of agency on, and it's the members who are supposed to advise the director on the issues of their agency. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Evan. Do you have a couple of minutes to take questions? Looks like we might have just a couple of minutes left.
Sure. Yeah.
Do we have any questions for Evan? Well, my question to you, Evan, is you have been an advocate for persons with disabilities in state service, and the service that you're providing is chairing the Disability Advisory Committee for your department, correct? What advice would you give other members, chairs, if you will, other than following the Government Code 19795B to make DAC more effective so they can convey the recommendation that they're supposed to convey to the chair or the head of the agency that they serve on?
Thanks for the question, Bobby. So, one concern that I've had recently is that sometimes if you have a volunteer membership of the DAC, that not every division or subsection within your agency might not be represented. So I would encourage that if you can, have the agency appoint someone from any underrepresented divisions or sections to be part of the DAC so that the DAC has a full view of the agency's issues.
Thank you so much. We have somebody, Angelica, please go ahead, unmute, ask your question. Then I'll go to Karen after that.
That was a great question, Bobby, because my question, it's regarding kind of in the same line. We work with the EEO office as part of the DAC, and some of us feel that we're not really being supported. It's more like comply with the mandate, but the DAC is just there. And so how or what are some of the options that we have as members of that to change that?
Again, my advice for you in this specific circumstance would be to reach out to Bobby and Alex, as the SDAC is an advisory council for agency DACs, and they can help you work through your individual issues with communicating with your department.
Thank you,
Evan, for, pointing towards us. We really appreciate that. Alex, you have any comment on this before I go to Karen?
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate your presentation, Evan. And how well do you think a DAC, trying to think of how to phrase this, is typically aware of the mandate itself rather than the agency instructing them in how to follow the mandate? Like, do you find DACs that you've interacted with know about the mandate itself? Like the language of the mandate?
So in my experience, since I've only been recently the DAC chair and going, really digging into the bylaws, which our DAC follows, I noticed that the mandate was in there, but I think a lot of DAC members and maybe even chairs and vice chairs aren't specifically aware of that statute, which is, again, the purpose of the DAC. So I think it can be possible for some agencies, as you said, to just kind of, have a DAC and go through the motions and things like that, without being fully aware of the statute and the purpose of the DAC, which is to solicit issues from the members of the agency and to directly advise the agency head.
Thank you. Karen, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
I do. Thanks, Bobby. Evan, I have a question. I actually have two questions. So, can you describe a project or an event that your DAC is currently working on, something upcoming? And then my second question is, can you describe how your DAC interacts with your EEO officer?
Yeah, so a recent event that we had that I thought was very successful, it was just actually a week ago or so, is we had a combination brown bag lunch with the DEI committee of our agency. and we allowed all participants to talk about either disability issues or their DEI issues together. And there was just a lot of, just very kind of off the record conversations between employees about, oh yeah, this is how disability has affected my life. This is how disability or DEI has affected my life. And you really start to learn a lot about the employees that are around you and even the members of your DACs through personal conversations like that. So that's something that I thought was very successful. And then the second thing, as I said, was we had Joe Xavier last October, and we had about 100 participants in a education session. So I thought that was very effective as well, and I'd love to do something like that again. And I'm sorry, can you repeat the second question?
Sure. The second question was, can you describe how you or your DAC interacts with the EEO officer? What kind of, what participation your EEO officer has in your DAC?
Yeah, so specific to our bylaws, the EEO officer provides an advisory and partial leadership role in our DAC. The EEO officer, similar to the RA coordinator and the health and safety officer, are non-members, which means they don't have voting rights, but they do interact as a liaison between management and the DAC.
Thank you, Karen.
That answers your question.
Thank you.
All right, Evan, thank you so much for being here and sharing your wealth of knowledge.